So, Geoffrey, ship fast versus extensive testing. Do you have an opinion on it?
I have an opinion on it. I think there's definitely a place for tests while writing features, but I'm not necessarily sure if everything needs to be covered by a test from the beginning. So I think that there's a phase where you're looking for market fit, where you're trying to figure out how the product works, how it looks, how it interacts. And I think if you spend a lot of time on covering those things with tests, that you lose time that you could otherwise spend on actually building the product, building the feature. But yeah, there's definitely a place for it, I think.
I would say that quality is always a choice, and I think that's what you're implying as well. But it's very important, I think, to communicate it to everybody what choice we're making. It's sometimes hard to decide how many tests do you need, and do you have like some kind of rule on how many tests you introduce? Or
I think in general, like if you're talking about backend codes, I think it's in general easier to cover things with tests. I think because it's more contract based, you want data and you can cover the data that returns with a test, and the data sometimes changes, but it's easy to refactor the test. For the front end, I think the easiest way to handle it is figure out what the critical path of the application is. What is like the main flow of the application, what are like the things that are really business critical that you want to cover, and you cover those with tests first, and then afterwards you can think of like minor things that you want to cover, but you really focus on what's the important part of the application that I want to cover with tests.
Sometimes it makes sense to just manually test some parts just to be able to ship it. Yeah, I think so. And I think indeed the backend lies more to be able to test there. Overall, would you say that like testing is a crucial part of being able to ship?
Yeah. I think the conclusion is tests are important, but they're not necessarily like a given at any moment during the development of your feature. You need to decide whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense, and when it makes sense to write them. That's the conclusion, I think.
Makes sense.
Okay.